founders trying to impress investors so much they forget the customer and the product. We've seen lots of startups shut down. Not all startups need to scale globally. Funding has been decreasing and falling down. They call them girl bosses.
Well, I feel great.
Hi everyone, Tamara here from Aurora. As we are getting ready for our next award ceremony, we are looking back at some moments from 2025. We recorded several interviews with investors, including a great chat with Aly Ramadan. He shared plenty of insights on how to grow business and fundraise in MENA. I'm excited to bring this conversation to you. Enjoy! Can you please tell me more about your company? What do you do for startups?
We're a think tank, and basically what we do is that we do policy advisory. We help bridge the gap between the entrepreneurial sectors, startups, and the government and policymakers. We run programs as well, and we run two major types of programs. The first is upskilling and capacity building programs for entrepreneurs, for digital savvy people, for tech people, and so on. And we also run incubation and acceleration programs for early stage startups.
From your experience, what are the biggest challenges startups face in MENA?
I would say the first thing is definitely funding. Funding has been decreasing and falling down quite this year and mostly last year as well. But I would say one thing else is the focus so much on specific sectors like fintech, like SaaS, and the investors leaving other underserved sectors and markets such as edtech, health tech. Like health tech had a very big boom right after COVID. And then suddenly all of the funding started to fall down post-COVID. So I would say focusing on sectors that are underserved and they might have so much potential. Something else I would also see is agility and adaptability. And I would think of that because if startups are unable to sustain themselves without funding, then that's quite a challenge. And we've seen lots of startups shut down and close because they're unable to sustain their business and they need too much cash flow in order to stay alive and survive. So finding strategies in order to survive without funding is really crucial as well.
What is the best way for a startup to secure funding right now in MENA?
For founders to do their job, to actually focus on their product, focusing more on localizing their products and refining their product strategies, trying to see how they can grow with these products instead of trying to impress investors. Because I see a lot of founders and startups, they're trying to impress investors so much that they forget the customer and they forget the product and they forget the actual pain that they're trying to solve with their startup. So focusing on what they're doing and how they can grow each day and how they can serve their customers or their users and their market better every day is so much important than focusing so much on fundraising and impressing investors.
For many founders, chasing investors feels natural. How can they change this mindset?
The first is innovation. I've seen lots of startups unable to fundraise, but when they focus so much on their product and innovate within their product and try to refine their product roadmap and find new features every day that can enhance the user's life in terms of their pain points and so on, investors become more attracted to them because they're seeing their business growing and they're seeing the founders even dedicated more towards their business, and the founders also with proper exposure are actually doing something that's meaningful and are actually gaining traction, whether it's on the financial side or on the product side. Then those investors are more attracted to them,
Are there any life hacks you could share with startup founders to raise funding more easily and on better terms?
When pitching your startup and approaching investors, you need to first attract investors. So you need to have a proper hook, you need to tell them, hey, I'm there, but in a creative way. And that's something I see a lot of early stage startups lack, is that when they're pitching, they focus so much on the product and on the solution right away, and they forget to actually attract those investors. Secondly, I would say focus so much on the team, because most early stage startups, they lack the experience when it comes to either industry or tech or even commercial backgrounds. So the team somehow is quite weak. So they spend so much time focusing on fundraising rather than the products. And investors are not attracted to them because they see the team, they're lacking the experience. So at that they don't receive any investments. So I would say focusing so much on getting the right talent to your team. Yeah.
What is one thing all successful founders share?
Knowing how to glitterify themselves, like how to appear and how to talk and how to express what they're doing in a proper way and in a very simple way. People say communication is key. I say communication is key when it comes to investors. That's the first thing. The second thing is resilience, adapting the whole time with the ups and downs. I remember someone once telling me that if you're a startup founder, then that's your life. You can't have something next to it. And I would mostly agree because you're going to go through lots of challenges and lots of ups and downs. So being able to survive and be resilient with all the challenges that you face is very crucial for you to succeed. I've seen startups fail and relaunch and, try to pivot once and twice and three times. But how much founders are resilient and are studying their market really well to pivot and find product market fit of their product is the most thing that actually makes them succeed in the future.
How is it working with female founders in MENA?
I have worked with female founders, and I would say that I'm really appreciative of how female founders are growing in terms of number and quantity, and they're starting their own businesses. And actually, I would say I've seen like they call them girl bosses, I've seen female founders who can actually deliver results, who can actually present themselves, who can actually lead businesses and pivot with their startups across the years, more even than male founders would do.
What's the best way for a startup to scale globally?
Actually, I would like to tell you something. Not all startups need to scale globally, like take an example, Kareem as a startup. It's been working in MENA. It's been doing fine in MENA and even may have been shutting down in a lot of countries and so on. But take, for example, UAE, they have been growing so much there since they have launched, since the beginning, even Talabat and so on. And that's also, I would think, is related to how the product is localized. If something's really localized in a specific region or a country or a nation, it can even stay there for quite a while and not need to scale globally. And I would think for MENA startups to scale, they need to see how or their actual product is relevant to the global market. And I think pain points differ from regions to regions and countries to countries as well. So seeing where their gap is and how they can penetrate this market is very important. Something else I'd say resources as well. So scaling and launching a business in another country is quite hectic and it's quite a hefty process financially when it comes to even different resources, operations, and so on. So seeing opportunities that can help you scale and launch globally in a more easier way, such as acquiring a company in another country or merging with another company or finding like venture capitalists do venture partners there, maybe partners in those specific local country who have experience in this region and so on. It's quite crucial when it comes to expansion.
What's your advice for startups struggling to attract talent early on?
Look at your flow circle, because I'm sure if you're building a startup, those that you have spent years getting to know and you have life experience with, and even if they're coming from different backgrounds, they would be more useful to you than those you have just known for a couple of months or maybe a few years and so on. And the second thing is try to approach those that are in your network that somehow are successful in what they do. So if you know a tech person who's very successful in a corporate and would like to, diverge a bit from that and start something from scratch, then that would be the perfect CTO for you.